All right, we are recording. I'm here with my buddy, TK Huynh. He is a pharmacist, and I'm going to give a little background, but hey, TK, how's it going? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Oh, it's my honor to be on here. And I'm doing really good. Things are going like really good for us. So you can't ask for more.
Awesome. Well, I want to give a background because I'm always super impressed by people like you. And the reason being is because you came to this country from Vietnam at 10 years old. You lived in Section 8 housing, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So you came here with very, very little, right? You can almost say barely anything.
Correct.
Right? And now you're serving people and you're living a dream, as I would say. I mean, you just had your product featured on the doctor's TV, which is like the American dream. It's like, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
So just to let the viewers know, TK is a pharmacist. He also has a fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative functional medicine, right? So you got your doctorate in pharmacy as a pharmacist. And I just found out, which is pretty awesome, especially being in a military town, is that this pain cream is going to be part of an alternative pain management study for veterans. And I know that you give this pain cream. Every time someone buys one, you give a pain cream to a veteran, right? Is that correct?
Correct. Okay. And that's our passion and our mission for the next 25 years. Is
awesome.
Giving back to our veterans.
Cool. So I didn't even mean to like get into the cream now because I want to save that.
Yeah.
But it was just like it's so amazing just to read that and hear about that before because I've known you for a while now and I've known about the product and now it's starting to take off as it should. But so yeah, you have an extensive background and you have 15 years, over 15 years now. And it was interesting to me because you have a similar background than I did. Like I started in corporate fitness and I helped manage training departments, and you started in corporate pharmacy and you helped manage their pharmacies, right? And then you decided to open up your own, and then you had success with that, but then you started to realize there maybe was some problems and challenges with the pharmacy system, or is that kind of how you branched off into the alternative means?
Yes. When we were in pharmacy school and in practice, we were taught that the conventional pill system is really the only treatment system out there that's FDA approved and that's scientifically proven. And in some way, we were brainwashed to believe that way and be trapped in that box where we're walking around thinking that there's a pills for every symptoms or every diagnosis. And we weren't taught that, hey, you should be helping people change how they live their life, what they put into their body and what they put out of their body,
right? And
where they live and what they do, their lifestyle all affects them before you really put a pill into them that would ultimately have maybe little side effect, but some pill has very toxic side effect, and some pills are very addictive, and some pill literally will kill you.
Yeah.
And that was the system that we were in many ways brainwashed to, or not offering an alternative. And when I started to open up my own independent pharmacy was when I started to really learn what the alternative are, when I started my fellowship in functional regenerative medicine and really understand food, nutrition, supplements,
the body,
lifestyle changes. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because now you have the knowledge of the pharmacy and the pharmaceuticals, and now you're taking that to the alternative. So you have like this interview is about healing hackers and healing hacking, and just knowing you and knowing some of the products that you like put together. Everybody listening, this guy is like the true kind of healing hacker in terms of the pharmaceutical sense, or taking that to the alternative. Because just tell us like some of the stuff that you've given me. Like I'm trying to think about the mixture of things that you've put together. Like I'm sure you have off the top of your head some of the things now.
Yeah, we're always experimenting, and it was like, okay, how do we experiment on the pain, the stress, the sleep? So we have different pain formulation, and then just the whole boosting our mindset, our brain, on thinking with more clarity and thinking faster. So we're always trying to mess with molecular structure and nutritional supplement to be able to hack the body and instruct the body using information set to get information to the body to be able to get to things a lot faster. And really, if you look at the body like a computer, a hardware and a software, the cream is the software to the body in terms of how it can redirect our body's energy field and give it the instruction to do what we want it to do, in some way biohacking the body to do that. And one other thing was, given my uniqueness in my background, that I have this experience as a pharmacist, and I was trained also as a compounding pharmacist, so doing a lot of formulations and doing creams and changing delivery system and changing that, and learning about 4 years of nutritional medicine and supplements and lifestyle change, incorporating that. But what tipped me over the point was when I started my path into energy medicine with light therapy and biofeedback and PEMF and yoga and meditation and qigong, and really then seeing not the part of the elephant or the diagnosis, but seeing the body as the whole.
Right.
And understanding that everything is about energy and information and vibration and frequency.
Yep.
That really changed this thing. And that was why we truly put our brain and our money and our passion into experimenting and building out the technology to be able to deliver this type of energy and information into a cream to be able to help people change.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you bring up the elephant, which I think is a great analogy, because the blind man and the elephant you're talking about, right? Like grabbing and saying, oh, an elephant is a rope, right? And you tug on it, and like one other blind man is touching the ear and says like, oh, it's like a big flap. That's what an elephant is. And then a guy's touching the nose. And that's probably what it was like in pharmacy school, right? You're just like focused on one specific thing. Like, here's the symptom, here's the pill. And now you have that down to like the detail. And now you opened your horizons and you saw the big picture, and you saw frequency and vibration, which I want to speak with you about specifically. But would you say that's kind of how it opened up for you?
Exactly. That was just that, because we're like, it's like we woke up one day, it's like, holy cow, we're causing more harm owning a pharmacy and dispensing more pills to people, where our initial hope was like, hey, you've been diagnosed with, we're going to give you, help cure you or heal you. But what we realized was like, man, we just gave that patient a pill. Next year, they're on 2 more pills to manage the other side effects and manage more of the degradation of the organs and the physiology of the body. And before you know it, they're like on 5 pills, 10 pills, and their brain isn't working properly, and they're having like miserable life. And that was kind of like our journey. Is like, how do we find a system that is better than the pill system?
And you, as a person that is a healer and a server, it was probably painful for you to watch that, right? Because there are some pharmacists that's like, yeah, man, push the pills, make more money, right? And then there's the other person that's like, hey, I'm here to help humanity.
Yes, definitely. And that was part of like our remorse in not seeing, but it's part of our journey.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we had this experience or things happen to us, but really, we really have to switch our mindset and said, you know, that was part of our journey.
Yeah.
Things happen for us. So that way we can now see this or do this, you know, or invest and focus our energy into doing what we're doing today.
Right. It was necessary for you to be where you are today. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to speak about frequency because a lot of times people get, you know, all weirded out about it. Or for me, it's just like kind of a normal conversation because I just think of everything in that terms and just energy in general. But when you talk about, for example, your cream, what people don't realize is not only are the ingredients amazing, but you're actually inputting a frequency in there. So you're putting like an energetic imprint into the cream, and that is the software that the cells are actually reading the information from, right?
Yes. Yes. Let me explain that because it give our viewer a better understanding, and how did we came about that was um, Bruce Lipton's book on about energy and molecule, and then Peter Fraser book about the human body field, and Lynn McTaggart books about uh, the field. Is everything that comes down in this universe comes down to atom, protons, and neutrons. And if these are the quantum molecular structure, they are constantly vibrating. And at very specific vibration, they become together to make um, a larger molecule. And that molecule has a very unique vibration structure. And then all the molecule comes together to make a cells or organelles, and then an organ. So every single step has very unique sets of vibrations and structures and frequency, and then it comes together to make a whole physiology. So we got the nervous system, the lymphatic system, the cardiovascular system, the brain, and they all have their own unique sets of vibration and frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And if our body then is this whole vibration and frequency organ, that's how some culture talks about meridian channels
Mm-hmm.
and acupuncture points. How some culture talks about auras and chakras. We're all talking about the same thing.
Right.
It's this vibration that give us a different sets of uh, light waves and frequency, and all of these are information.
Right.
So a lot of Russian scientists and German scientists have done works in the 40, incorporating traditional Chinese meridian channels and chakras and Ayurvedic energy theories into decoding these information.
Mm.
And what I came to realize is that if we are a set of information, then information can be override with stronger information.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was how we came about with this theory, because I started practicing biofeedback and energy medicine and using a lot of PEMF technology, post electromagnetic frequency,
Yeah.
just kind of like that unit you have right back
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
unit. And so kind of like how we can use light and frequency, and light as the carrier wave to carry the frequency as the information.
Mm.
And so if I thought that was the true, because I started seeing more article about light carrying information sets. And so I'm like, okay, if I can do that, just as if people are using homeopathic, because that's what homeopathic is dilution of information set that's been diluted by 1 time, 6 time, 3 time, or 100 time, or 1,000 time.
Mm.
And what is in the dilution is just information. And this was kind of proven by Benavista back in the 40s or 50. And so what then happened is, what if we can take homeopathic information and amplify that signature by 10,000 times and deliver it into the molecular structure of the cream as memory set. And then take that information in that cream and apply it to the energy field of the body, where we be able to override the information vibration in the body. And so we started with this kind of crazy theory of testing it, and had somebody build the right technology and device and light bit to be able to deliver that information set that would be stronger than homeopathic, to be able to imprint into the cream. And when you apply the cream onto your heart and the back of your neck or anywhere your body you could apply it onto, that vibration of information then communicate with the body, then it starts to override the instruction of what is going on to the body and give it the right information set that we send in there.
Yeah, because it's also, the body's also receiving a lot of information that it's not used to receiving, right? So for example, we've been in nature and we're used to being in nature all the time, and then all of a sudden we're indoors and exposed to Wi-Fi and we're receiving all this information that we're not used to. So with using the cream, you're almost bringing it back to like a natural, or let's say homeostasis, would you say? Like a natural state of being almost?
Yes. One of the thing is we're living in a world where technology is accelerating so fast that we don't have the research or the tracking system to really correlate and see what is going on how all the Wi-Fi and environmental toxins is affecting our body.
Yeah.
And so we're bombarded with all these frequencies and information that's slowly disrupting our energetic being. So we're seeing more people, especially with 5Gs coming up, we're going to see more people with nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and vertigo and stuff like that. And mental confusion, sleep pattern disruption, especially with even the blue lights and the fluorescent lights and all that stuff coming through.
Yeah.
But going back to the body is an information energy being. So when our heart is pumping, it's sending out electromagnetic information into the field. But what we also need to realize is that it's also receiving information from the field. And that was one of the reasons why we have people apply the cream over their heart. So that way the heart understands the heart coherent information that we put in there. And so we put in there the heart lung meridian also. So that way the heart and the mind and the gut are talking as one and be in alignment with each other.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, so that in itself is a hack.
Yes. And
now,
that was one of the biggest hacks that we discovered of how important the heart, not just in terms of delivering fluids and pumping blood and controlling the blood pressure and the rest of the body in terms of getting the nutrient there.
Yeah.
But the information that the heart has the ability to imprint into the fluids that goes through.
Right.
And telling the body, the rest of the body, energetically what is going on in our environment. Just as if we walk into a room where there's bad people and we get that gut feeling that there's something weird going on.
Yep.
That's our heart telling our the rest of the body, and it's our gut and our brain building up that intuition and saying there's something wrong here.
Right.
And we just need to be able to intuitively understand that.
Right, like waves of information from like a sonar, right? It's like we're picking up that information, and then our nervous system gets like feels the senses, and we call that sixth sense, right?
Yes, exactly that.
So, so now I know we talked a little bit about this before, and what I wanted to get into is like you have the cream, and you have these other healing hacks, and some of the tinctures that you've given me, right, with imprints of like it's not actually psychedelics, but it'll have like the imprint of maybe a psychedelic or something like that. So you're not actually taking the psychedelic, but you feel the imprint of it. Is that correct in what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. That's more of our biohacking fun that we want to do. Is like, how do we open our conscious mind and our conscious field into a quantum realm,
Yeah.
as if getting the benefit of Joe Dispenza's work on meditation and activating the pineal gland,
Yeah.
to be able to bring us to that next realm of meditation,
Yeah.
and creating the heart coherence and the mind calmness, so that way we get there.
Yeah.
And it was like, how do we figure out the effect of LSD, mushrooms, and DMT? And instead of being able to use a substance that is illegal, but use the bioenergetic copy of that, where it's legal, it doesn't have the profound added addictive effect at high dose, or any danger of having a high dose, but really being able to activate the information in the brain field and our conscious and subconscious field, to be able to get into that meditative state where we have the mental clarity and say, hey, I really see things in a very different way. And how do we be able to use that to open up the rest of our brain and invent and create things for humanity?
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of creation comes from the imprint of those psychedelics or whatever it is. And we
Yes.
know that because the guy who created the double strand, or the helix, right, the Nobel Prize winner, he admitted, I think on his deathbed, that it was
Watson and Crick.
Yeah,
Those two guys. Yes.
You credit it to LSD, I believe, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's something like that. So, but so we have all those little hacks, but like we were speaking about before. The mind, the body, the emotions, and how you were saying, yeah, you can give somebody a pill, but what is the root or the foundational principles that are actually going to create the healing, right? So what's your belief on that? And if you could answer that before, what would you say your definition of healing is?
My definition of healing is really activating the body system to be able to go back into homeostasis, because our body is always trying to get back into homeostasis at a physical level. But how do we intuitively hack our information field, basically our conscious mind, subconscious mind, and our intention, to be able to instruct the body or the system that is off to get back to its normal state?
Okay.
A lot of time, traumas, emotional stress, or physical stress or pain can interfere with the information set that leads to the long-term offset of this homeostatic system. If we can easily be able to use a very safe way without actual synthetic drugs that may have harmful side effects, to be able to instruct the body to get back to what is normal physically and emotionally, that would be the journey of healing.
Right. So once you get back to that place, essentially your body knows what to do. It's like a healing machine if you give it what it needs, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. Using information and intention and mindset and all that stuff.
Okay. So, yeah. So is there a way that you use that in your daily life, or that you have other people use that, the mindset, intention?
Yes. I have like all kind of gadgets at my house. I have a float tank at my house.
Okay.
I would use, that's the Epsom salt float tank bed that I would use. So I meditate on that, and I used it to really save the craziness in my life, all the stress that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
I have like laser light, LED light that I use for treatment. I have biofeedback software. I have vib- uh, vibration beds and treatment beds, and so I use all kind of hacks, and it's always about discovering how do we incorporate each of these. And I have light frequency chambers and device and the technology that we use, but it's really about how do we bring our mind into the state of consciousness where we're at peace, and how do we shift our emotional stress that we go through on a daily basis, or our past traumas, and how do we go. So yeah, we started to do more meditation and learning how to do better meditation in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and learning different skills like tapping into our subconscious mind to let go of our trauma and reframe our stories, reframe our mindset. Because that's one of the things, was like, let's say if I was abused as a kid, or I had, when we left Vietnam, it was a very traumatic event that we lived in a refugee camp for 2 years, like 13 people into one bunk bed, or whatever.
In Vietnam before you came here?
Yes, we escaped from Vietnam into Hong Kong, and we lived in a refugee camp for 2 years there.
Wow.
And those type of things can be a little bit traumatic,
Yeah.
in plucking you out of your home from one day and like living into this refugee camp with thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
And what we learn is, how do we help people let go of all the emotion, all the trauma that we hold on to.
Yeah.
Help them reframe their story with the state where they feel secure, where they feel that they have unconditional love, and that they feel at peace. So that way they can say, oh, you know what, all those things that really happened, it happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I can move forward now.
Yeah.
And help them reframe that story. And that was part of my learning journey. It was like, before it was like, oh, why does all these cracks and all these crazy incident and stressful thing happen to me?
Yeah.
And it was more understanding that, you know what, it happened for me, because now I'm free to leave my pharmacy, leave my pharmacy business, where I was helping people, but I can do more, I can help more people, and
Yeah.
really focus this energy and this passion and my uniqueness, my talent, to reach more people.
Yeah.
So it was about that, understanding that journey.
Now, so yeah, that journey, the journey that you just spoke about, is not many people, I would say, experienced. So when you talk about stories and perception, I would think that, yeah, there was probably trauma in that, being removed from one spot, living in a refugee camp, coming to the US. But you probably also have, and I've heard many of my entrepreneur friends say, the immigrant edge. And the immigrant edge is, you probably see living in America totally different than some of these Americans that have been here for generations. And is that true? Would you say that that's the case?
I would say that's absolutely true in my circumstance, and a lot of the circumstance that I've seen is that, we came here, we came to Fresno working as migrant worker.
Mm.
And I was put through elementary school, but during the summer, I always wanted to go to summer school, but I worked in the field as migrant worker, picking peppers and garlics and grapes, and dry them out on the field for raisins. And then on top of that, what really set the course of my life was, like, one day my dad wanted to do better and own his own business instead of working in the field.
Mm-hmm.
with the whole family.
Yeah.
He bought this very old beat up truck and a lawnmower one day and came home and told me this is our new business. And I was probably like 13.
Yeah.
And we didn't have much. We don't even have a copying machine or anything like that. So we went through the telephone book looking for gardening ads and really copy the different ads and put them together into our own ads, not really understanding the whole marketing thing.
Wow.
And tracing every single one of those paper every day, and then fold them up and put in a Ziploc bag with a piece of rock, and then put it on people's door.
Wow.
To ask for their gardening service. And that was really my life, going all the way to high school until I got sick and tired of it right after high school. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta move out of Fresno, and that's kind of like what happened. I left Fresno, and because I was just tired of mowing people's lawn in the hot summer.
Yeah. I identify with that because that's what I started doing at 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, but did it work? Did the marketing thing work?
It worked because I didn't realize how entrepreneurial I am until I look back at that.
Yeah.
It was like training. My dad didn't speak English. He doesn't speak English even today.
Yeah.
And my job was to go around asking for people for business and interpret for my dad.
Right.
And be able to pitch them to be able to accept our service and pay us. And that was kind of our journey. And I looked back, I'm like, those things happened for me.
Yeah.
To make me who I am and really think about the opportunity that we have.
Right.
And that was why we wanted to start this whole program of buy one, give one to a veteran, because given the opportunity that we were given escaping from Vietnam after the war,
mm-hmm.
and having the ability to get us to where we are today and that opportunity, we want to give back, and we wanted to give back to our veteran.
Yeah, so see, that's amazing to me. Those stories give me the chills, because you see somebody that coming from where you came from, and the really we're talking about emotions and healing, and your life becoming kind of a feedback loop for what your feelings are, right? And so you have the mindset of like, wow, I see all this opportunity, whereas other people see like, oh, I'm a victim and I'm in the victim mindset, and the victim mindset might be the dis-ease or what starts the degeneration or the sickness, right? Whereas it's all in the mind and in the being. So if someone was here listening to you, is there any healing hacks that you would suggest that are like the lowest hanging fruit that they can do right now to start them on a journey of just healing or starting to feel more appreciation or see more opportunity?
I would say yes. If they live the concept of grounding, that doesn't cost anybody anything, and it's easy, and it's going to change people's life profoundly.
Mm-hmm.
And really about not taking a lot of time to be able to do this, given that we're moving to a society of Wi-Fi, wireless signal and interference everywhere, and with 5G coming out, I would say grounding the easiest way. If you live close by the beach, take a walk barefooted on the beach where the water is. You're going to feel so much better because of all that negative ion from the earth magnetic spheres being absorbed into your body.
Yeah.
Or if you live up in the mountain, walk in the wood, in the forest, all those negative ion will give you the same effect. But let's say if you live here in Fresno, you're not that close to the mountains or close to the beach. The easiest inexpensive hack is that dig a 6-inch or a foot hole, 2x2, pour a couple sandbags in there, wet the sand, and then all the silica and the sand and everything will, with the wetness, will charge and pull more of the electromagnetic frequency from the earth up.
Yeah.
Just sit there and bury your feet in it for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you like. Start out with 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then over time, you're going to feel so good that you're going to be sitting there reading a book or meditating for half an hour or more.
Yeah.
And
So,
it doesn't cost you anything.
yeah, that's great. And I've heard a lot of people mention grounding, but that is a true hack, what you just said. Like digging the hole, pouring the sand in, because you're bringing all the charge right there for you. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, they're getting all the electron donation, right? So for most people that don't understand the grounding, basically they're getting negative ions, which help quench the positive charge, which are like toxins and things that are in our body, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is there any other things that you think people can do now, like sitting here watching, maybe, that they can do?
Breathing. That doesn't cost them money.
Yeah.
But it helped reset their fight and flight system and shift their fight and flight system from high adrenaline, high cortisol, high epinephrine into a state of low, high dopamine, high parasympathetic tone.
Okay.
And when I say breathing, there's probably two main ones that would be very popular. One is obviously the Wim Hof method,
Right.
and that's ridiculously like beneficial, and that's what you're certified to do. And the other thing is what Tony Robbins kind of talked about, is priming. It's
Right.
basically his way of Wim Hof breathing,
Right.
but taking deep breaths or certain breath method, what changes the whole physiology and reset the whole immune system in our body.
Yeah.
And that's simple, meditative, easy to do, but it's gonna change the course of our whole physiology, and it's amazing. And
Yeah.
so I do that every morning in my shower.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's why I love teaching that, because it's like the simplest, easiest reset. It's just like, boom, you do breathing, and it's amazing. So, okay, grounding, breathing, and then obviously, if somebody wanted to, they could put on this cream, right? So we spoke a little bit about the cream. I went into it very, like, cursory, let's say. But can you explain to us, like, what is in the cream? Not just the frequencies. We spoke about the frequencies, but now there's like aloe, you have arnica, you have menthol, you have basuela, which is essentially, what's the other name for it? What is it? Frankincense?
Yes.
What else?
So basically, when we did this, we want to make sure that we're in compliance with the FDA and FTC.
Yeah.
And how do we make a cream that we can say that it's for temporary relief of minor aches and pain due to arthritis, joint, muscle, sprains and strains and bruise and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And how do we make a cream that is functionally natural and safe for people to use, but incorporate the energy field information into the cream, and that it would hold that information set properly?
Yeah.
And so we look at electrical charges, we look at water imprinting method.
Yeah.
And basically then we go, okay, we don't want the cream to smell like Bengay, where it has high camphor or high menthol. So we didn't put any camphor in there.
Okay.
We went on and say, what is the lowest amount of menthol that we can register with the FDA as an over-the-counter analgesic? So we went with 1.5% menthol, but we added the calendula, the arnica, the boswellas, and all these herbal extracts that was used traditionally for these types of symptoms or issues.
Right.
I have to try to be FDA compliant because we can't say that these herbs and essential oil are used for pain or anything like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so then we added in essential oil to really create a synergistic blend,
Yeah.
and that would smells good, but effectively carry the charge and the information set that we needed.
Yeah.
And so after the production in an FTC approved facility, the cream then comes to our office and we put it inside a red light chamber and we pre-treat it for half an hour with information. And the information that we put in there is about getting grounded. So we put in earth natural resonant in there.
Yeah.
But how do we look at helping people let go? So in traditional Chinese medicine like acupuncture, there's the meridian called heart-lung meridian.
Yeah.
And a lot of our grief and stress and anger and bitterness, we hold inside our heart and our lung meridian. And that throws off this meridian, creating energy blockage.
Yeah.
And so we experiment with putting that information set for the heart-lung meridian in there. And what we found is that it helped people liberate, let go of all that emotion when they clear out that energetic flow along that meridian. And then we look at how do we get people into meditative state where their brain goes into peaceful, unconditional state, increasing their ability to get into delta and theta brainwaves and stuff like that.
Right.
And so we put in like heart coherence information. We put in unconditional love and peace in there. And what we're seeing more is that more people are telling us this is nuts. This is crazy. They're using it and applying it on their heart and the back of their neck and many times just a little bit on the third eye.
Yeah.
And in 5 minutes, they can get into a very deep meditative state.
Yeah.
That would totally changes their meditation, but changes how they perceive stress because they're getting better results in their meditation.
Yeah.
And remember, we're at one of our meetings, the Muse people was there.
Yeah.
They got their hand on some of the sample and they were using it that way, and they were using it to track on their app.
No way.
And immediately when they went home, they're like, we're getting really crazy result out of this, but we want to prove that it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
So they went about asking for a box of the sample.
Yeah.
And they're saying that it's crazy. It's doubling their meditative state. They're catching more birdies, and it's causing this huge improvement for them. And so there were some people who were also using Oura Ring to track their sleep and their brain pattern and their meditation pattern.
Yeah.
And one of the reaction from one of the doctor who uses this was kind of like this, was like, holy shit, TK, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
I used it for the first time at a hotel, which is extremely unusual to be able to literally disrupt sleep pattern.
Yeah.
And her result that morning in terms of applying it before her meditation was she got into like 15 minutes of 100% deep state meditation, where she was meditating for the last 5 years and being able to track it, and saying that she has never gotten to the point, usually at 80% for 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
But now it's 15 minutes at 100%.
Wow.
And we're getting that type of results, but really is then that is the concept. How do we physically shift people with their pain intensity in terms of how they interpret that in the conscious mind?
Right.
But how do we shift people from a high emotional stress state to a low, peaceful, loving state where their conscious mind interpret the pain differently? And that's basically what the cream does.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it. So you've seen me promote it on Facebook, so you already know what I feel about it. But just to let the viewers out there, like, it's no joke. I was at I was like jet lagged. We were at the meeting. You were saying, here, put on this cream. And I didn't really know anything about it. And I remember putting it on. I'm like, 5 minutes later, I was like, oh man, I feel really good right now. And and then I slept well that night. But for the people that were listening, Muse, actually, we're talking about meditation, which this is probably something that's very good. Muse is a device where people put it on their head, and it actually tracks their brain waves. And then they have an app, and they can see if they're going into a meditative state. So what TK was saying is that just by using the cream, it's like a game, Muse. Like, you put on this headset, you look at the app, and the calmer you get like birdies, and you get points, and it actually tracks your brainwave. So putting on the cream is actually increasing the level of meditative state just by using the frequency. And is it mostly the frequency, or is it partially due to the ingredients?
It's the information set in the cream.
Yeah.
And what all it does is put you into a state of heart coherence and meditative state.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we definitely can see most likely heart rate changes, brainwave changes.
So have you tested heart rate variability with it?
I tested on my own heart. Dr. Kessler, Heart Quest.
Okay.
Is what I use.
Yeah.
It's another offset of heart rate variability program.
Yeah.
And so that checks on my different brainwave, my biological self and my physical self, and all the energetic neurotransmitters and hormones, and my auras and my chakras. It checks for all that, and it has been a huge difference. But there's not a lot of people who uses that program.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we're in the process of working with Aura Ring and Muse officially to be able to help people get into that state faster. But yeah, we're gonna try to work with Heart Quest, the people that does heart rate variability, and be able to track that. And that's why it's leading me to a meeting with Dr. Joe Dispenza in June.
Wow.
And he uses heart rate variability testing in his meditation. And we're hoping to be able to get them there faster. If we can save them a couple hours, half a day, to be able to get into a meditative state when they're doing their whole day meditation.
Yeah.
That's going to be a huge change for them.
Yeah. I'm thinking about now, like during the Wim Hof retreats, like take some of that cream with me.
Yeah. That would be very interesting to try to apply the cream on before they do the breathing, and then when they get into the cold therapy, because that's going to changes the neurotransmitter level.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I got to write that down and remember, because I've been experimenting with all these things. So awesome. We're about the top of the hour. So any last, so first off, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of this cream if they want to? Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can definitely find us on our website, Mind Body Matrix, MATRIX.com.
Okay.
Or they can find us on Facebook at Mind Body Matrix, and on Instagram at Mind Body Matrix also. The other thing is, if they truly want to know if this cream really works, I think we briefly mentioned that we were on the Doctor Show.
Yeah.
The Doctor TV show just does this pass the test. The Sniff Test is what they do on that show.
Yeah.
And so they tested our cream on 3 individual that they picked that has some type of pain, and they wanted to prove if our cream does what it said that it does. And so they can also find that segment on the Doctor TV show online and watch it.
I'm going to share that with on Facebook and my group, and then I'm also going to share it with my back pain page, because this is something that they all can use and benefit from. So Yeah, man, I am super happy and appreciate you getting on this call. And I think you have a lot to share and offer, a lot to value to offer, especially around here with the veterans. You know, I know how they're suffering, so I appreciate you doing that and that adding that service and that value to the world. Any last words before we sign off here?
No, we're just excited that we're gonna have the opportunity to be a part of a veteran pain management study as an alternative leeway to be able to help our veteran being able to manage some of this, and that's gonna be an exciting project that we're involved in with the veteran affair.
Awesome, man. That is great. Keep me updated on how that goes. And yeah, I'll be sharing this with my list and signing off, TK.
Thank you, and thank you, brother.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.